Good afternoon. I'm Suzy Vance from Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living. And today I'm with Cathy Feeman, a wonderful artist. So Cathy, how did you get into what you're doing?
Oh, how much time do we have?
That's okay.
The short story, I guess. I don't know if there's a short story. I've been a creative person all my life, doing art things since I was a kid. I think most artists say that. I chose a path right out of high school that was sort of seemed like a logical thing to do. I went into a commercial art kind of school for illustration, just thinking that was responsible. It was a long time later. We had a family, raised my kids. I started to realize I actually never wanted to be an illustrator. I really wanted to make art, but I didn't really sort of understand art education or why I would, go a different route or whatever. So it took me quite a while before I started that journey.
Don't you think that's true of most people?
Probably so. And it was a long sort of journey. Another friend was sort of in the same boat. And I thought, you know what, I really wanted to be a studio artist. That's what I wanted to do.
And so you gave yourself permission.
Yeah, it took a long time.
What was the trigger that made you finally commit? If there was one.
I think it was just this coming up against, why do I have to justify giving time to making art? And this is how I'm wired. This is how I'm made.
It's time to be yourself.
I should, start looking at what does that mean. And having another friend in that same journey, and she's a graphic designer, so she's in an arts field, but she said it's not really a personal expression of art making. It's a job.
Right.
So we were both in a what does this mean? This is sort of what we've been given. What do we do with it? And I just started taking some classes and doing completely different type of art, making real abstract stuff. It was a real challenge for me because I was so used to, illustration is all mapped out and planned.
Were you doing any of this while you were still working in graphic design?
No, I had sort of taken, once I was a mom, the doing freelance illustration was, challenging. I did some teaching when my firstborn got into kindergarten. They needed an art teacher, so I started teaching. That led me to start experimenting more, right? You want to come up with creative ideas, you're trying different things. But doing these workshops really stretched me. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get a portfolio together, or I'm going to get a body of work. And I started to look at, resumes and just feeling like I really need a proper fine art education. I never had one. I had taken no art history classes. So one thing led to another, and I kept telling myself, I can't go back to school. That's just out of the question. That's just not, it was not even, didn't seem like a reality. Can't do that, I'll have to do it another way. And then it was actually when my daughter was going into college, and I was just going to audit some classes, and I was sitting in the admissions office, and I asked them, okay, so, we have my daughter, she's set up. How do I audit classes? And they said, well, the good news is our policy has changed, but the bad news is it used to be you just paid the lab fee.
Right.
The tuition was the same, whether you were credit or not credit. And while I sat there, I just heard all these things I had been saying to myself. I should have done this after high school, wish I had this, can't do this, can't do that, And I just heard you've been living in regret. Really, it was that strong of a moment, and I thought, okay, how do I do this? Can I do this? And it was late. It was in the summer. It was then all of a sudden this flurry of getting transcripts, and so I went back to school, got a fine arts degree, got a BFA, and it really changed the trajectory of art making for me because I think it just took me to a different level of exploring, ideas and going deeper, And
giving yourself permission to do what you'd always wanted to do.
Yeah, you know, and it was at a good time. You know, I had that chunk of time right then that nobody really needed me to do anything, you know, so I could do that, and I had some credits from my previous thing, so I was able to knock it out in 3 years. But so that was 2015 when I graduated. So it's been really a shorter period of time of.
And tell me how you got into the work that you do, because it's fascinating.
Well, in that first year, back at college, I took a workshop from this artist, and it was a cold wax medium, an artist in actually Asheville. I had signed up for this thing a long time before. It was a terrible time because here I am, like my, you know, first semester in college after all these years,
and you have
a
workshop.
So busy, and it's like, I don't want to do this, but I'll go. But I'm really glad I did, because that one day workshop, just like, okay, I think I'm going to explore this medium further.
So tell me a little bit about the medium.
So it is a cold wax medium, so it's not like encaustic heat process or anything, and it's mixed with oil paint, so they're actually mixed together. And some artists will use it to create texture. And I found myself, and I'm playing it with like spatulas and, you know, silicone tools and things like that. What I was really fascinated with, sorry, I'm bumping my microphone here, is the ability to completely smooth it out. And I found this really interesting sort of depth and texture, but yet flat, and this really matte surface, which I really loved. And then ideas were forming as I was doing this, and I kind of took it some different directions, and it started connecting with some ideas I had, some thoughts, observations and things, and it sort of morphed into this current body of work. So I really love it. I really like working in different media, and I'm going to explore, well, I am now on a different project exploring other things. I love painting, but I really like exploring other things. I'm going to do some three-dimensional projects or some installations. I'm really interested in including some technology, but I need to find someone else to partner with for the things that are beyond my ability to, like, that's more than I want to learn. So I like building things. I haven't really done much of that recently, so you know, there's all kinds of possibilities. But
there are, and you haven't closed the door to any of them.
no, really, you know, it's I started like later in my life, but I feel like I'm really just at the beginning. You know, it's the beginning.
Welcome to my world. So every day is a new one.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing. So there you have it. Creating from the Heart, the Artistry of Living with Cathy Feeman. See you next time.